It is that time again, people. You are now listening to Rell Talk, the podcast. If you heard my last show, then you know that I touched on the heroin epidemic that is now going on in white America, up north and in the Midwest. You'd also know that the government is handling these addictions with a fine-tooth comb, unlike the way they handled the addiction during the cocaine epidemic with African Americans in the 80s. We were criminalized. They made sure we had criminal records that lasted for a lifetime. This episode, I want to touch on the numbers. Even though we know this cocaine epidemic was a lot longer than the sample rate I'm going to give you, I'm just going to say from 1980 to 1990, as much as 375,000 crack-addicted babies were born every single year. Now, in 10 years, that totals 3.7 million crack babies. Now, I was a baby in the 80s, but if you were an adult or a teenager in the 80s, what you heard on TV or what you heard on the news went much like this.
These children, who are the most expensive babies ever born in America, are going to overwhelm every social service delivery system that they come in contact with throughout the rest of their lives.
So that's what played on the news in the 1980s. These kids are going to grow up and they're going to overwhelm the social service system. And then all of a sudden, let's say 20-some odd years later, this story comes out and it completely debunks everything that the news media and doctors said in the 80s would happen to babies born addicted to crack cocaine.
The researchers say they've looked at studies of 11 to 17-year-olds whose mothers smoked crack cocaine while pregnant. Studies that track children beyond infancy have failed to find any severe outcomes.
Researchers now say while some studies have linked pregnant women's cocaine use with behavioral problems, anxiety, and poor school performance, they say the effects were mostly small and may have resulted from other factors.
So just so y'all know, the other factors they're saying is extreme poverty. They're saying that the reason a lot of these black kids who were born to mothers addicted to crack cocaine, the reason why they learned a little slower and wasn't on the same level educationally as their counterparts who were the same age and come from, rather normal households was because they were in extreme poverty. And I say that's wordplay. Tomato, tomato. What's the difference? Because whether I am not where I need to be because my mother was addicted to crack cocaine and I have some type of physical, medical issue, or whether I am a little slower than my counterparts because my mother was addicted to crack cocaine and wasn't allowed to give me the attention, meaning help me with my homework, meaning give me the love and support I need, or whether I was taken from my mother and put in foster care and put through all kind of stress. We know how stressful that could be. Or if I watch my father get carried away by the system because he sold crack cocaine to provide for his family. Either way, it all stemmed from crack cocaine being placed into our neighborhoods. So the government now is saying, hey, listen, what we told y'all in the 80s, y'all have been using it as an excuse for the reason y'all are the way y'all are. And that's not an excuse because new studies show that, hey, the effect don't last that long. And what they're saying is that if a baby is born to a mother addicted to crack cocaine, the withdrawals don't last that long. So after a while, that baby is absolutely normal. And I say he may be normal mentally, but what about living in extreme poverty because his mother spent 9 to 10 years on drugs and her mind is completely out of it? Or his father was locked up and now he can't get a job, so he's forced to continue to deal. See, my thing, and the thing I hate is that, the media tries to now say that the black community is screwed up because we somehow don't want any better for ourselves. The media is now saying that we don't want to do better. We're in a hole because we put ourselves there and we just don't want to dig ourselves out. And I ain't with all that. I'm just not with all that because at the end of the day, we know from history and we know from some of these administrations' own admittance, this was purposely done to us.
Young black men commit homicides at a rate 10 times greater than whites and Hispanics combined. Right now, about 73% of all black babies are born out of wedlock. White people don't force black people to have babies out of wedlock. But the entertainment industry encourages the irresponsibility by marketing a gangsta culture. When was the last time you heard the Congressional Black Caucus say that? How about Jackson and Sharpton? How about President Obama? You want a conversation? You got it. You want a better situation for blacks? Give them a chance to revive their neighborhoods and culture. Go to Detroit and ask anyone living on the south side of the 8 Mile Road what destroyed their city. They will tell you narcotics. They know addiction leads to crime and debasement. But what do the race hustlers and limousine liberals yell about? The number of black men in prison for selling drugs. Oh, it's so unfair. It's a nonviolent crime. And blacks are targeted. That is one of the biggest lies in the history of this country.
You see that? That's white supremacy at its finest. You see, Bill O'Reilly's a smart man. What I'm about to play for y'all, Bill O'Reilly already knew. He figures if we don't know, then he can come out and demean us any way he possibly can and make us start questioning ourselves. Make us start saying, man, are we really here because we don't want better? Is it really our fault? That's what he's doing. And that's what they've been doing to us for the last 30 or 40 years, I must say. We know Bill O'Reilly's a racist. Listen to what he said. White people don't make us commit these crimes. We don't have any morals. We don't want any better for ourselves. That's what he said. It's a lie that these things happen to us because someone put this on our community. But check this out.
The Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had two enemies, the anti-war left and black people. You understand what I'm saying? We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities.
That was a gentleman by the name of John Ehrlichman, a former Nixon aide. This man spent time in prison because of the whole Watergate scandal. So this is no conspiracy. He's telling you from his mouth. That's what we did. So now what, Bill O'Reilly? So now what, conservative white America? Your own admittance that he specifically targeted the African-American community and it worked like a charm, because look at us now. Look at us now. We're still suffering, like today, from what happened 35, 40 years ago. That's why after the cocaine epidemic, crime tripled. Infant mortality tripled. High school dropouts tripled. White America would tell you that black on black crime is a result of single motherhood. It is a result of black fathers abandoning their children. Well, let me tell you this right here. Men who are 25 to 35 years old today were born between 1980 and 1990. If they lived in any of these inner city neighborhoods, more than likely they had a mother who was addicted to crack cocaine or a father who was arrested and incarcerated. And because this was purposely done, you can't use the argument of he shouldn't have sold the drugs. They were poor. Selling the drugs was a way to put food on your table. They took all our resources. Remember that. So again, if my father spent 10 years in prison because he was given crack cocaine to sell and then turned right around and arrested, that's why I didn't learn how to count to 10. If my mother was addicted to crack cocaine because, again, she was given crack cocaine, that's why I didn't learn how to count to 10. Do you know how many black kids were put up for adoption during this time? Thousands. And these are black kids who today have no relationship with these people who put them through this. Meaning, if my mom was addicted to a drug, the government came and took me. And for that reason, I blame my mom. It didn't happen to my family. But again, we were an exception. Most of my friends, it happened to their family. And I watched them not have food in their refrigerator when I was a kid and go to their house. I watched their mother not really be so much of a mother, but almost like a friend, because they just didn't know how to be a parent. Mentally, they were so screwed up. And I watched my friends take to my mom because that was all they knew as far as somebody being motherly and being loving. You don't put a people through this kind of atrocity and then one day say, okay, you're good to go, you're free to go, fix your own lives. Because it's virtually impossible unless some type of divine intervention comes into play. And a few times it has happened. There are African Americans right now who were born with cocaine-addicted parents, and they are now PhDs, they're doctors, they're lawyers, but they are an exception. The masses of African Americans who went through this are still suffering. They never came out of it. You ride through any urban community today, you'll see people who've been using crack cocaine for 30 and 40 years because they've been abandoned by their family and abandoned by the system. But how do you feel now knowing that a president of the United States purposely put these drugs and funneled these drugs into a particular community? And you tell me we don't deserve reparations? You tell me reparations are divisive, Bernie Sanders? You tell me that reparations aren't the answer, Hillary Clinton, that we need to talk about jobs and incarceration and employment? Absolutely. But I don't trust this government. Because how dare the same government that locked my parents up, that addicted my brothers and my sisters and my aunts and my uncles to crack cocaine, how dare they now say the problem is really incarceration? Well, they're incarcerated because you mentally screwed them up. And they walking around crazy and deranged, committing crimes and living reckless. We can't get employed because after this cocaine epidemic, high school dropouts increased. So we don't even have high school diplomas or GEDs. So who's going to hire us? We're incarcerated because if we can't get jobs, then we turn to crime and drugs to make money. Then you lock us up. I'm so sick and tired of this wordplay. I'm so sick and tired of them trying to make us feel like we put this on ourselves. We better wake up. We better wake up and stop being so passive aggressive to all of these atrocities that people put on us. The Jews got reparations. The Japanese got reparations. The Native Americans got reparations. Why not us? And don't tell me welfare, because welfare is not our reparations. It's messed up, y'all. It's messed up. If y'all want to add to the conversation, feel free to comment below. That's all I got for today. Thank y'all for tuning in, man. Rell Talk, the podcast.